Hello everybody and welcome to the Next Action Partners Expert Talk. Today I'm happy to introduce to you a person I met roughly a decade ago and was very impressed from the first moment on. Talking about Shelle Charvet, and Shelle is known worldwide for her book Words That Change Minds, and they also changed my minds, frankly speaking.
So your mind was changed?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Somehow.
Und das ist gut so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it started, and then I started changing other people's minds. So, Shelle, she works with companies to help them get better at influencing.
Influencing, isn't that manipulative?
That was my question.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, it can be.
Yeah.
We can talk more about that.
We should talk more about that. We are just at the beginning, Shelle.
Oh, right, okay.
But I first wanted to mention that your secret love, so to put no pressure here, but to say that we will have a joyful conversation, that your secret love is to do stand-up comedy?
Oh my God, don't tell anyone.
But you do.
I do.
And we can watch it on YouTube if you want to. That's great. So make your first notices here and remarks.
Just check out The Sex Life of Dragonflies. That's where you'll find it.
Yeah, maybe that's worth a different expert talk. Yeah. Shelle, welcome. I'm so happy that you are here, and we can talk today about, not primarily about stand-up comedy, but somehow about influencing people and whether this is manipulative or not. Yeah. Is that a good idea to start with?
You know, a lot of people think that the word manipulation and influencing is exactly the same. I don't disagree. But if you influence with integrity, that means you're showing people more respect. But if you do something that is against what's important for them and is using hidden methodologies that take them a place they don't want to be, yes, that's manipulative. And the tools I teach are powerful enough to be manipulative. But that doesn't help you in the long term for long-term relationships. In long-term relationships, you have to actually care about what's important to the other person. So if people are just trying to grab and go, they can be manipulative, but that'll never help them in the long term because people will learn not to trust them.
Okay.
And if you don't have trust, you don't have anything. Yeah.
What I learned now is there is a dark side of influencing and there is a light side of influencing.
Dark side.
And we are definitely talking about the light side of influence.
I hope so.
Isn't it? So, and that I think was somehow what I learned when I was reading your book and learning your programs, not only as a practitioner, but already as a trainer. Oh God, I became a trainer. Certified by Shelle. And this is available not only in English, right? And not only in German.
Not only in German. The new edition of Words That Change Minds, I think, is going to be out in 20 languages now.
Yeah, cool.
It was 15 before, and there's been quite a bit more interest. So.
Is it available in Turkish, by the way?
Noch nicht.
Noch nicht.
Yeah.
Okay, let's think about it. But in Japanese, I heard, right?
Yes, definitely.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
Chinese,
really cool.
yeah.
So let us start to give the people a little bit insight of Words That Change Mind, talking about meta programs or the language and behavior profile, as I learned earlier. So why does the world need this language and behavior profile stuff?
So Words That Change Minds is based on this tool that's called the language and behavior profile. But let's forget about the tool for a second. The issue is that most people suck at convincing other people to do what they want them to do. And why is that? The reason is that other people don't think like you do. And you know, since COVID, we've known that everybody has different opinions, and when you just argue and use facts, it doesn't change anybody's minds. But if you knew what motivates other people, how they think, how they make decisions, you can go to their bus stop. And from their bus stop, you can actually use the words and the actions and the deeds that speak to them, that match how they think. And then you're likely to be more successful at inviting them and getting them to get on the bus so that you can go somewhere useful with them.
That's easy to say.
Harder to do.
Harder to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are the biggest challenges if I want to learn this stuff, influencing people?
So I wouldn't even say the biggest challenge. I'd say the first step is to understand what your own motivation patterns are and to learn how contextual they are. What motivates you at work is not what motivates you for why you want holiday or what things you're going to buy in the supermarket. So the first step would be know yourself and then have the methodology to find out what motivates either another person, a group, or a whole target market. How do you find that out? So there's a whole methodology there. And then you can use it for lots of different purposes.
If we look at a current situation of the pandemic and the lockdown and the work from home stuff and all that thing, is that a challenging issue for the people that they are in the home context where they have to stay in the work context? So is that where we can get something out of it here?
Here's a really clear example, is that in the work context, there's a set of patterns, and this profiling tool has patterns that describe how people think and how they get motivated. Well, there's a set of patterns about your productivity, and there's 3 patterns. Independent, I work all by myself, and I don't want to be interrupted, and I want to have a clear territory of responsibility. The next one is called proximity, and that means I'm most productive when I have a role and the other person has a role. So like in this situation, we're in proximity. You're interviewing me. You have a role and I have a role. And then there's a third pattern that's cooperative. And that means we're all together. There's no roles. We're just all in it together. And depending on what your productivity style is, how productive you'll be. Now, at work, most people are either proximity or independent. So they're used to having their own space to do their work. But what happens when now you have to work at the kitchen table? Well, the kitchen table is a cooperative environment. Your family comes and sits down there and you have your meals together, et cetera, et cetera. So how can you be productive when every 5 minutes somebody's saying, hey, Ma, hey, Pa, whatever, and it has been driving people crazy. So what people have had to learn how to do is to defend their context. So that would mean using time in this case. So I need 3 hours of independent time. Don't bug me while I'm working. Then take the laptop away and turn it back into cooperative family time.
So now that you have given us a brief introduction about that, I think most of the people, at this point, I was very curious when I heard that the first time. So can you give us more about, there are programs in it, so we have kind of a certified, international certified practitioner program. What is it about?
The practitioner program gives you the skills so that you can ask the lab profile questions or test for them in an online environment or an internet environment and be able to decode the answers. Can I give you an example? Mm-hmm. So, for example, one of the motivation categories is direction of movement, and that's what will make you do something or what will stop you from doing something. And there's 2 patterns. And in English, we call them away from and toward. In German, we say weg von and hinzu. So what will make you do something? Is it a problem that will make you do something, or is it because you want to achieve something? Well, if someone is motivated to avoid, prevent, or fix a problem, you cannot use the same language as someone who wants to achieve, get, or gain something. You have to be able to determine what is motivating that person in that context, because it's not a personality thing, and then use the correct language.
Let's say people went through this program and have learned this stuff. So how will people now be able to apply these principles and use them?
Well, I want to use a metaphor here. It's like they'll have a secret decoder ring. Because once they've learned the patterns, they'll know, A, what questions to ask to find them out, but they'll also know how to recognize these motivation patterns when people are talking. So that's the secret decoder ring. So somebody is talking, you'll instantly be able to tell, are they moving toward, or are they moving away from? Do they make decisions for themselves? We call that internal. Or are they influenced by outside influences? And if so, which ones? You'll be able to hear that in the language, and then next, you'll be able to match that language right in a conversation, just like the example you gave.
Yeah. So I can avoid having bad relationships, and I can improve my relationships.
You can do both of those
things.
things.
This is to have both.
I call that speaking out of both sides of your mouth.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So, and that's great, and there is a serious background in it, because when we talk very often unconsciously, or I talk unconsciously, because I stay mostly in my pattern, right? And to achieve or to get the whole audience, it makes sense to speak with both types of languages.
It depends on the pattern.
Yeah.
Like when you're with a group of people, you can assume that some people are goal-oriented and they're there for a reason. And probably there's some people there because they know certain problems need to be prevented. So then that makes sense to use both benefits language and problem-avoiding language. But it doesn't make sense to do that for all the patterns. It makes sense to think about who is the audience and what patterns are they likely to be in.
There might be a lot of salespeople watching to this here. So the best salespeople in the world. So what is their preferred pattern.
Yeah. So, of course, there's variations,
Yeah.
but there is one pattern that the best salespeople have. And this is a pattern we call procedures. And that is the ability to start something, go through it step by step, and finish it. When someone has a mainly procedures pattern, I don't mean be rigid and bureaucratic, but they have a method that they follow, it means the motivation is to finish what you start. Yeah. And great salespeople follow up. Genius salespeople who can't produce consistent results have the opposite pattern, which we call options. And they're very creative, and this is why we love them. They can think of lots of alternatives, but they're not very motivated to follow up. Yeah. So they would rather start a new prospect than follow up and dot all the I's and cross all the T's.
Yeah, I remember a situation in a travel agency when I wanted to book something. And she was a great salesperson, and she said, look here, and this is what you want, and this is on the seaside, and you have a Meerblick, and you have a nice big room, and all that. I said, that's nice, let me book that. You like that? I said, yes. And she said, wait, if you like this, I have something special for you. Okay, so when will she close the deal?
Well, no, she keeps proposing another option. It's like when you, end users and technology people, this is that sort of communication. End users want to know how to use the software, how to use the desktop. And the technology people say, no, that's not the only thing you can do. You can do this, this, and this, and this. And they go, yeah, I just want to know how to do this. Can't you just tell me how to do this? Well, that's not the only thing you can do. So it's like cross purposes, and options and procedures are two really important motivators. And you can predict how well someone's going to do in a certain job based on which combination of these patterns they have and how well it actually fits the essential work in that position.
So Shelle, you are doing this for years now, and you have worked with a bunch of corporate companies and organizations and individuals therein. Tell us, when they worked with you and when they went through your programs, so what do people say what they gained out of it?
Yeah, so what they say as individuals is very interesting, because the first thing they say is, now I understand, exactly like you did a few minutes ago, now I understand what went wrong. And then the second thing they say is, now I know how to figure out what to do so that works. So that's on an individual level. But some of the corporate work that I do helps them understand their customers. Are their customers trying to solve a problem or gain a benefit? And in what sequence? So they also find that out at a real mass communication level. But the first thing they talk about is the personal benefits they get, first of all.
Yeah, cool. And what I really like in the way you do your work is that you always combine it with having fun and not being so serious by death, you know. It's like, I really like your husband motivator. That's
yes,
an app,
we have
right?
an app. We have an app
yeah.
called Husband Motivator. And husbandmotivator.com, you can find out how to motivate your husband. And yes.
Yeah. And that was the commercial break.
That was a commercial break. And the
break.
secret is you can input as many husbands as you like. So there you go. And yes, it works on wives. Yes, yes, yes. Just imagine it says she instead of he if you have a wife or a boss.
Then I wanted to
or a
ask, so can I use that?
Sure.
Does that make sense in the same way, the other way around?
Sure.
Shelle, this is so much fun talking to you, and that is no wonder for me. I really enjoyed the certification program with you, as a practitioner program, and all that stuff I did with you, and I'm so grateful you were here today. I hope you had some fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Finally. And
finally.
Thank you so much, and stay safe, and hope to see you soon.
See you soon.
Dankeschön.
Dankeschön.